And welcome to Candidates Corner on LPTV, Libertarian Party Television, a production of the Libertarian Party and Libertarian National Committee. Joe Bishop Henchman as chair. As always, John Gapso on the big board, and my name is Pat Ford. I'm your host. The same reasons exist for this show as well. They always have. I believe we were supposed to have celebrated our one-year anniversary just about a month ago. We missed it. So consider tonight a celebration in a sense. The purpose of this show is to give the libertarian community an opportunity to meet our wonderful down-ballot candidates when they win and when they almost win. Because a libertarian candidacy can never be an equivalent, either moral, philosophically, or politically, as a loss. Every time one of these brave souls, brave men or young women, get up and put themselves on the line to run as libertarian candidates, they advance a philosophy. They generate memberships. They bring our statement of principles to life, in many cases for people who may have never met a libertarian, in the true sense, not those fake liberty Republican types, right? We want to always continue to challenge our libertarian candidates to manage to incorporate what we call lunch pail voter issues and channel them through a libertarian prism, a libertarian perspective. And as always, win or lose, we want to create a bond, a recognition amongst affiliates, connection between individuals across the country, the importance of each one of their efforts, whether running for school boards, water boards, town boards. I think of one of the most principled people I've met in this organization, Eric Mulder, who ran for a transportation community board, or if some such thing, some such status nightmare. But he ran for it and ran hard in the great state of Colorado. And that young man knew one whole hell of a lot about the budget and the operations of said transportation authority, probably more so than, well, most of the people who, and I'll use the LPTV air quotes, work there. Joining us tonight is Tim McMaster. Now, of course, he was with us just about a month or so ago and recently concluded a hard-working, hard-running, hard-charging candidacy for the state of Pennsylvania State Senate, District 48. It didn't end up as we wanted to. Of course, we're always rooting for victory. All of our candidates are working hard for victory. But I'm here tonight to talk about, well, the morning after, if you will, or perhaps the night after, and what that means to a candidate and moving forward. A candidate who's decided to embrace, if you will, electoral politics. Tim, welcome back to LPTV. Thanks for joining us. And by the way, it was great to meet you at the Pennsylvania Convention last week. It was
Pat, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for extending the opportunity again. And it was, in fact, a pleasure to meet you and actually to shake hands with you and meet you face to face at the convention this past weekend.
Now, so again, congratulations on a hard-fought effort. It didn't turn out the way you wanted.
It really didn't. It really didn't. We were hoping for a lot more. We were in a 4-person race, which is somewhat unheard of in a special election. And what we were up against was the Republican machine in the district, as well as the Democrats, but also a former 6-term House representative in the form of Ed Krebs, who I've met several times personally, face to face. Decent guy, good human being. I think he's wrong on a lot of things, and I'm not 100% certain why he was running in this special election. He said he was only going to run and serve for the 18 months of this unexpired term for the recently deceased Mr. Arnold. But we did pretty good. I think so. Obviously, we would have liked to have a lot better, but I think walking into this district as a complete unknown from the Libertarian Party, who was from what they usually refer to as the lesser part of the district due to gerrymandering, and we still pulled 3 to 5%. I think it's an amazing victory for the party, not so much for me, but for the party and for the team who really they worked their asses off. Pardon my French, but they killed it. They were great.
It's the important thing here is that, again, it was a hard-fought campaign, a thoroughly legitimate campaign. This was not some sort of let's get our name on the ballot. I think we've kind of moved past that, and we only do that now as a party when it's critical for ballot access. But how many libertarians do you think you met, or I should say libertarian voters? Maybe not libertarians, but maybe people who are willing to give you their vote, or seriously considered giving you their vote to a libertarian for the very first time?
Easily hundreds. And there were a lot more who were sort of on the fence and thought like, well, we have to stop Governor Wolf, and we have to stay true to our Republican or our Democrat ideals. That I think when they see how well we actually did, I think 2022 is going to be a whole different ball game.
And let's jump right into that, because that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you, because having gotten to know you and having met you in person, it strikes me that this is not the last we're going to hear of Tim McMaster, is it?
No, I'm honestly, I'm too dumb to take a defeat easily. So, I'm too stubborn, as my wife will, I'm sure agree. When I set my mind to do something, I usually just wait for people to tell me I can't do it so that I can tell them, watch me do it. So 2022, we are coming out in a big way. We're going to hold Mr. Gephardt, Senator Gephardt now. We're going to hold his feet to the fire. We're going to be on him constantly, making sure that he is voting for the people of this district, making sure that he is upholding the concepts of liberty. I don't know what else to say about that. Like we're going hard for 2022 already.
That's excellent. So you intend to run again, and
yes.
You're going to build the platform of, if you will, the foundation of your organization from the great efforts in a very short-term special election.
Not to get too inside baseball here, but the affiliate in Lebanon County for the Libertarian Party actually was just formed in February, March of 2021. And the effort that those guys put forward was awe-inspiring, quite honestly. I mean, for a brand new affiliate to take a guy who they had never met before, who's from York County of all places, and to really embrace me based on what I had to say, my ideas, and how we wanted to run this campaign. And for those folks and Sam and Mike and Lindsay to embrace me and say, like, we're going to get behind this guy and we're going to work for this guy. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional right now, because those guys really were fantastic, phenomenal people. And to see the growth of the party affiliate with Lebanon County is just, it's amazing. I can't say enough good things about those folks.
So what are some of the things that you'd like to do now? You and I spoke in person, offline, and I always talk about, as someone like yourself, who has clear designs to continue to take on the duopoly, take on, if you will, the political establishment, to become, if you will, a shadow state senator in your case. What are some of the things that you think you'd like to try, just for no other reason than, quite frankly, you can?
Well, as most people know, I used to be a professional wrestler, so I'm very good at cutting promos. So one of my things that I plan to do is do a lot of like Facebook Lives, actually from the steps of the General Assembly, to actually go up there while they're in session.
I love it.
Prior to them voting, and say, like, hey, this is what they're voting on today. This is what I think of it. Let's go inside and see what these guys are up to. And then kind of comment on it and just be like, okay, well, our state senator, our new senator, Chris Gephardt, said he was going to run on XYZ. He actually voted ABC. So we need to hold him accountable. So I have absolutely no problem being, pardon my French, the biggest pain in the ass that the General Assembly has ever seen before I even get there.
That's great. I'm the one who wants to cry now. I'm going to get emotional. When you look at an aggressive candidate whose aggression is not focusing on what we generically refer to in the studio as outrage porn, who's not obsessed with the media drive-by bull, when they're focused on issues, more issues, and reaching out to their constituents to inform them in a manner that's probably not going to occur from the actual incumbent, the actual state senator's office. That's exactly the type of connection that needs to be made and reinforced and done so routinely. In a sense, the real election, and I'd love your opinion on this, from my perspective, is always going to be issues, as they say, orientated, right? Is that a real word? Of course it's not. Issues orientated, so that the voters can go nuclear if, in fact, they don't stick to the plan. They were elected based on certain pronouncements. They were elected based on a platform, and when they deviate in such a way that's an insult to the voters and is an insult to our principles, there can be no other recourse than to constantly be that steady drumbeat. Just he needs to fear your rhetoric. He needs to fear your steady pronouncements, your steady communication. Because quite frankly, there's no way in hell, I've gotten to know you now, there's no way in hell he's going to keep up with you, is there?
No. I like to think I can outwork anybody. And I don't, if you've ever come to the farm, and Pat, you haven't yet, but the offer stands. If you ever come to the farm and see like what we actually do here after working a full-time day job, like it's, I don't want to brag or nothing, but it's pretty amazing, like the stuff that we do. So I don't think there's any way that Senator Gephardt is going to outwork myself or this team, especially the team, because like I said before, like I had the good fortune to surround myself with some amazing human beings, but for them, I would be nothing.
So what are your plans in terms of building up? Let's get into some of the nitty-gritties, how we can do this. What are your ideas and plans into sort of building up that chain of communications, that connection with the voters of your district?
So one thing we're going to do is we're going to constantly be in and around the district. Like we are going to be constantly out talking to people. We're going to be shaking hands. We're going to be reminding people that, hey, if you don't like what's going on in Harrisburg, you had an option, and in a few months you have another chance to make that right. We're going to be constantly going out. We're going to be doing community events. We're going to be talking to people. We're going to be knocking on doors. We're going to be, as my father used to say, kissing hands and shaking babies, getting out there and actually talking to the people and reminding them, hey, you have freedom. You have liberty. You just have to take it back. And these sociopaths in Harrisburg and by extension, Washington, D.C. have conditioned people to think that by wanting to exercise their rights and to keep all of their rights, that they're somehow selfish or self-centered. It's like, no, we want everyone to have their rights. We want everyone to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. And I think the best way that we do that going forward to 2022 is we just get out there and remind people of that by any means necessary. If it's, if it's me just walking down the street with my megaphone, reminding people that they have freedoms, if it's, going to social events, if it's me doing live Facebook chats on the steps of the Capitol, so be it. Anything that we can do to get in front of people and remind them of the freedoms that they deserve, that they earned, that they have, I think it's going to help us going forward.
Incredibly enough, and I don't know that we thought this day was coming as soon as, well, not soon enough, but as soon as it has, you've got the prospect now of COVID fading into the sunset to a certain degree. A lot of lives were lost. A lot of liberties were lost. So in a sense, you're going to have really a two tracks to approach. You've got to reinforce if you will, the lessons learned from COVID. And at the same time, you've got to be showing a willingness to segue back into what I'll call normal issues, the more normal concerns of the time. If there's, it's a fine line, because I love your reaction to this. Politically, we can't allow people to forget the civil liberties lost, the freedoms crushed, and the economic carnage and the philosophical and the social
Right.
carnage that happened as a result. At the same time, though, there's real potential for sort of a level of exhaustion with that you can't make that your only the only premise you're running on. So how do you judge that and bridge those issues with what issues you think are going to be on the minds of Pennsylvanians going forward?
I think that's kind of got to be the like the gateway drug, so to speak, is like, hey, look at what we just endured over the last year and a half to 2 years. You deserve to be free, get out, do things. But remember, there's these other things here as well. Like I would absolutely be on board with co-sponsoring SB 565 for constitutional carry in the state of Pennsylvania. I'd absolutely be on board with SB 222, which is the legalization of recreational marijuana in Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of things that we as libertarians or just freedom-loving people that we have going for us. Like there are things in the works. Like there are ways that we can, kind of all come together, whether we're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, Constitution Party, or unaffiliated, what have you, that we can all come together and we can make Pennsylvania a lot freer. We can make it the freest state in the union. We can make it again the keystone state, the keystone that holds the entire union together. And I think that starts with conversation. And the first way that I intend to get out and start conversating with people is to say, like, hey, COVID's over. Let's do stuff.
So do you envision in-person meetings, in-person fundraising?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't. I mean, there's, even the governor has rescinded a lot of the restrictions and saying that you can gather if you've been vaccinated or partially vaccinated. And, I mean, I think people are tired of it. I mean, they really are. And private businesses are making their own decisions. I mean, there's 4 or 5 places I've been just this week that were private businesses that a month ago you needed a mask to walk in. And now they've got all the signs pulled down and they're like, hey, mask's optional. So people are opening up and they're waking up, and the COVID numbers are dropping. People that are choosing to are getting vaccinated. So I think, within the next 5 or 6 months, we could be back to a complete return to what we used to have, like a normal.
What are the issues that are important to the folks in your Senate district? When you were on last time, it was sort of a group effort. There were a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. What matters post-COVID to folks that you live and work alongside of?
So largely, it's a lot of agricultural issues here as well. Because there's the USDA and the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture makes a lot of restrictions on what can and can't be done and sold off a farm, what you can do. So that's a big thing. So that's more of kind of in the weeds, policy wonk kind of stuff. Folks are most concerned with their taxes. Their taxes keep going up. The federal government keeps issuing quote unquote stimulus checks, which, I mean, they got to get that money from somewhere.
Right.
So they can't just keep printing money. I mean, if I did that, I'd be in federal prison. So they want their property taxes lowered. They want their income taxes lowered. A lot of folks are really interested in constitutional carry. Like they should be able to defend themselves however they see fit without the government putting some kind of mandate on what they can use. And a lot of people are really disgusted with the gerrymandering. You had the picture up earlier of what this district looks like. Like that is quite literally offensive to me that this district looks like that. I mean, I love the people of Lebanon County. I really do. But yeah, look at that. I mean, it's all Lebanon County and like 4 townships and 2 municipalities in Dauphin, 4 townships and 2 municipalities in York. It's like we don't have as much commonality as I think that they think we do. And really, they shaped that district in such a way that they could get a ton of Republican voters in sort of the middle southern portion of York County. It's like they're not really being representative when we have, outside of myself, that there were 3 candidates who were basically from a 5-mile radius inside of Lebanon, right outside of Lebanon City. What do they know about representing Middletown or even north and like Anvil or like Spring and Sperry Township? like they don't really understand. And then the gerrymandering is out of control, especially in Pennsylvania. I mean, 48, as you can see there, is one of the 3 worst districts in Pennsylvania. Like it's literally, it's offensive to me. Sorry, I know that was I went off.
No. This is again, the purpose of this show is to take issues that are important to your constituents and elevate them into our libertarian philosophy and look through them as sort of as what the premise is. And so we as a party become, it's our love of, for example, Washington economics, our love of, if you will, some fairly esoteric philosophies and issues is all important to our development internally. To be able to argue back and forth those points is really the foundation for things like the statement of principles and the foundation for how we approach everything. At the same time, we'll lovingly call them the normies, the people outside of our bubble, the folks that are on main streets in towns across Pennsylvania and towns across literally every state, every commonwealth. And they're, some of them, a percentage of them might get there. But we can't conflate federal issues with state offices. We can't be discussing homeschooling as much as we would with people running for federal offices. We have to respect and understand what the delimiters are, what the parameters are, what the conditions are of the office that we're running for. I often use Eric Mulder in Colorado as an example of a guy who really knew a lot about the transportation organization that he was running to be a representative for, and could have a conversation with ordinary Coloradans about, well, transportation. Even though as a libertarian, he clearly was not a huge fan of centralized transportation services. But again, we have to be able to deal with the issues, the conditions, what's in place right now. And we have to be able to either attack them, discuss them, analyze them from a position of knowledge. And part of that knowledge is working for the people you're looking to represent. As we always say here, we don't govern, we steward. We steward municipal and shared resources that have been entrusted to us by these people into some form of representative government. Hopefully the less, the better. We have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
So your campaign machine is alive and well, and you plan on getting right back to it this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the best way to pick yourself up is once you get bucked out of the saddle is to just get right back in it.
Right. And one of the things I just want to bring up tonight, I'm involved with the Radical Caucus. We don't really discuss caucus politics here, but there are a variety of resources throughout the party, and the Radical Caucus is one of them, where there's literature that's been developed and fine-tuned, which is libertarian literature. It's not radical. It's not any other caucus literature. And I bring up issues like that because there are a host of people around the country who are looking to provide predefined, in-place resources for candidacies just like yours. I think the type of things we're talking about tonight are really a business model going forward. Jump right back in. Now, because of the special nature of the election, he took over from someone who passed. He's being probably inaugurated or sworn in or whatever, gotten the secret handshake or the
term. So I think they come back from their quote unquote spring break the first Monday in June. So what is that, like the 2nd or 3rd of June? He'll be sworn in, and that's until November 2nd, 2022.
So they'll draw blood from the wrist or whatever. Whatever those people do.
Yeah, they'll do the spit shake or the pinky swear or whatever it
is. as they swear fealty to themselves and in support of an oppressive state regime that almost went bankrupt a couple of years ago when the city of Harrisburg filed for bankruptcy. But they don't like to talk about that anymore, do they? No, they don't. It's a pretty rough environment when your capital city files for bankruptcy and the courts say no.
Yeah. I mean, just because I live like 15 minutes south of Harrisburg, and a lot of the day jobs that I had, I was in Harrisburg a lot during those heady years of the Stephen Reed era. Mm-hmm. So it's so much worse than what you've just described. Like, it really is a horror show.
Oh man. Well, listen, I go back to Wilson Good. All right. That's all those that's a name that lives in infamy in the state of Pennsylvania. And what I'm
I
talking
go back
about
as far as Dick Thornburg. I think he was pretty good.
Wilson Good, by the way, still stands to be the only mayor in American history who ordered a bombing of his own city. Google it, folks. Just Google it.
That was Philadelphia, right? The move bombing?
The move bombing, right. 19 blocks, something like that.
Yeah. They don't teach that a whole lot in public schools anymore.
Well, in the words of perhaps one of the greatest film noirs in American history, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works. Okay, so, how could folks, and this is an interesting concept, I believe, because we typically hear about people fundraising during, in the immediate run up to the campaign. And there are certainly a lot of campaigns to raise money for. But I'm intrigued. You're going to continue some level of fundraising in the run up to that, I hope, right?
Yeah, we're not gonna push it too much as far as the fundraising. We need to get all of our lowercase j's dotted and our x's crossed, as they say. Right. But the fundraising, the PayPal account is still up at tim2021.com/donate. If you want to throw $10-15 to that, whatever, we're not going to push it too hard. The website is still being updated, but not as frequently, since I'm the webmaster, so I get to decide that. The Facebook page obviously is still being updated pretty frequently. We'll be tagging new Senator Gebhardt quite frequently on it as well, just to let him know that we're watching and right. And we haven't forgotten. Well,
about the fundraising, though, let me jump in on that. The notion, if you will, and I'll call it you being the shadow senator for your district, that'll cost money. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you. That will cost money. Yet, knowing you now, any money you get will be spent parsimoniously. You're a responsible, thrifty soul. And
I like to think so, yeah.
Absolutely. So if folks can contribute money, and again, we're talking about the $5 and $10 donations. And again, we understand right now that people are still facing life-changing circumstances right now. We get that. So we only ask for those folks who are in a position that they're comfortable to do so. But the ability to generate money over time will allow you to fund efforts to visit the fine people in Harrisburg, to do mailings, to do the occasional lit drop, to fund Facebook boosts and posts. I guess what I'm asking for in this perspective is people to give a chance to a campaign, and hopefully there'll be others that follow this. And again, this is the opinion of your host, but a campaign that is going to be a multi-year campaign. It's not going to go into hibernation only to reappear a year from now. And there's people who do that. And if that's their choice, that's okay. But I want to argue strongly for people who are willing to invest the time and the effort and the money to occupy these shadow candidacies where you are literally on their backs all the time, accomplishing one or two things. Number one, presenting people with the facts as opposed to the fictions, as opposed to this is what we're going to try to do. This is the sentence parsing that went on during the campaign. This is what's actually happening. And maybe, who knows, the pressure of that constant vigilance will, in fact, challenge the candidate, the existing office holder, if you will, to, are you ready for this? Do the right thing. And by the right thing, I mean, despite the fact that he's not a libertarian, looking to their libertarian philosophy to steward those shared resources. Now, some may call me naive, some may call me, I don't know, Pollyannish. But let's not let our heel, rise from the neck, our boot from the neck of government. Let's be the ones that ultimately are pressuring government. Let's be proactive, not reactive. Let's be the aggressor, not the defender. Let's get on their collective selves Let's be relentless. I think you got that in you.
Yeah, I really think so too. It's not something that in a lot of other walks of my life is super super great to have. Being like relentless and, as my wife calls it, kind of pig-headed. But one thing I would like to say though is, being that this was a special election, it was actually all inspiring to me that on the Democrat primary ballot, on the Republican primary ballot, and on the nonpartisan primary ballot, everyone in this district saw a libertarian on the ballot. And I think that is going to be something that we're definitely going to work on going forward. Like that is definitely a point that we can build off of. It's like, hey, we're libertarians. We're a legitimate party. Like we were just, in 2020, we had presidential ballots. We were on the presidential ballot and we had candidates all the way down the line. Now here we are in a special election. Guess what? We're back. So I think going forward to 2022, like that is something that is only going to help us, not just in this district, but overall in the state of Pennsylvania, because there were, 3 other special elections that had libertarians on this cycle. And I thought that was phenomenal as well. So one thing that we're definitely looking forward to doing is we're going to be the thorn in the side of the Republicans, the Democrats, and everybody in Harrisburg, especially with me being this close to Harrisburg. Like literally I can get done with my day job and jet up there before they get out of session so that they see me as soon as they walk out the doors, which lucky them. So that's definitely one thing that I definitely plan on doing. And that's not really something that I need to beg donors for. Like that's like literally I'm like 20 minutes from Harrisburg,
right?
And parking after 4:00 is mostly free, so I'll eat that cost just to go up there and be a pain in their ass so that they know come November 2022, like, hey, you better bring your A game and you better come correct, because I absolutely am.
Excellent. Well, tell folks, let's go down. Let's engage in some shameless self-promotion, and we're going to check in with you from time to time, and certainly let the show know if you've got events coming up, because one of the things that we're looking to do to add to the show is to be an additional resource to publicize candidate events, particularly quote unquote the down ballot candidate events that are being had across the country, the money bombs, all that. It's something that the LPTV platform is a wonderful vehicle for. So give us the full rundown as to.
So right now we don't really have anything official planned right now. We're still.
Oh no! I mean, in terms of your social media, give us the rundown. How folks can reach out to you.
Yeah, it's right now the website is still tim2021.com, tim2021.com. It will very soon be changing, but you can find out information on that from the Facebook page, which is Timothy McMaster for PA 48.
Excellent.
That's really about the only reason I don't have like the Twitter or the Insta or any of that noise. I think they're essentially just cesspools. But I do use the Facebook and I do use the internets. So we'll also be spamming the hell out of the local newspapers and the local media as well. Just trying to get the name out and just calling out the status quo in Harrisburg as well.
And I assume you're going to be issuing regular, press releases.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll be doing press releases. I'm going to be calling folks that we've made great contacts with in the media directly and saying like, hey, this happened in Harrisburg today. You know what you need? You need a libertarian stance on it. You need a libertarian to tell you what really happened. So call me up.
Wonderful stuff. Listen, Tim McMaster, thanks for joining us on the fly. Thanks for having a great internet signal in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm glad someone does.
Few. It's one of the few.
No, listen, we've got some exciting programming coming up, folks. As far as the new chair of the state of Pennsylvania, our sort of tradition now is we're trying to get as many newly elected state chairs on the show as possible to discuss their future plans. The recently elected state chair is going to be on this Monday on our affiliate show, which is Monday nights, same bat time, same bat station, 9:00 p.m. We've got Friday night coming up, a very, very special guest. I think someone that we're all looking forward to meeting. Next Friday night on the Candidates Corner is going to be Stacey Pressman. She is running to be the mayor as a libertarian to the mayor of the city of New York. And she's already got some amazing stories to tell. She's working alongside one of the best that the Libertarian Party has. And of course, coming off his wonderful run for governor just a couple of years ago, Larry Sharp is involved in the campaign. It looks like it's going to be a real barn burner. We've got the benefit of not having to go for the Democratic nomination. She's in the race to win it. So she'll be joining us. So Mondays and Fridays, 9:00 p.m. By the way, there's wonderful LPTV programming all week long. If you haven't liked the Facebook page, LPTV, take a moment also, if you will, to put your update alarm, if you will, on your, clearly you've all liked the Libertarian Party page, where you'll see routine announcements, sometimes days before, weeks before, sometimes the night of. But again, the effort here is to popularize, recognize, strategize, and work alongside of our great down ballot candidates. So Tim, thanks again, and we'll be in regular touch. Keep that fire alive. All of you who've run in these special elections, let's work towards keeping that momentum moving forward. It's critical. Y'all have engaged in such hard work. Let's not let those efforts sort of burn out. Let's keep it moving. Folks, you've been listening to Candidates Corner on LPTV, a production of the Libertarian Party and Libertarian National Committee. Joe Bishop Henchman as chair. A big thanks, as always, to John Gabso, who runs the big board here. He's the one who gives you the fun graphics and manages to find pictures of senatorial and mayoral and town council districts and all the minutia and fun facts that come along with each one of our, if you will, candidates. This can be a veritable geography course that we've conducted over the last year or so, as we find out about local newspapers and local events and local candidates and the challenges they all face. Folks, have a wonderful week. We'll see you Monday night at 9:00. Good night.